Yo, Joe. Talking comics, here's your host. It's A Real American Brian.
All right, time to get into some more G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero. And we've made it up to issue number 31. We have a Klaus Janson cover on this one. Destro towering over Snake Eyes. All Fall Down, written by Larry Hama, art by Rod Wiggum. This is Rod's first issue. He would become a mainstay on the book going forward. We have a bunch of Joes rolling through the gate at Fort Wadsworth with all their advanced vehicles. And Fred Broca has been reassigned again to keep an eye on Fort Wadsworth. And he gets a call from Cobra Commander, who informs Fred that he will be receiving a couple of guests and he has to do whatever they say. Ace and Wild Bill are piloting a cargo plane under the orders of Hawk, who is calling it a training mission, but is really a trip to get Snake Eyes to his cabin in the High Sierras for his leave. Zartan calls Cobra Commander. After discussing the incident at the Air Force Base, he mentions he put a tracking beeper on the very plane the Joes are on now. The Joes get the cargo plane to its destination, and Snake Eyes jumps out of the back. Before they close the ramp, Hawk sends Spirit and Airborne out the back to keep an eye on Snake Eyes. The two Native American Joes working together as a small team here in Spirit's first appearance. Fred Broca is interrupted by his daughter telling him he has guests in the kitchen. We see that it is Destro and Firefly. The two men ask/tell Fred he is going with them. Destro gets a phone call with the destination. They are headed for the High Sierras. Spirit finds Zartan's beeper and crushes it before he and Airborne jump out of the plane. Snake Eyes has made it to his cabin and is playing with Timber. He spots Spirit hiding in a tree 10 miles away. Spirit and Airborne relocate their camp after getting spotted. They decide to build an obvious campsite and fire, so maybe Snake Eyes will think they are normal campers. Fred and the boys have made it to the High Sierras. They ask a local if he might know where his old army buddy is. He gives them directions to the cabin. Destro and Firefly in the back in their clever disguises suspect the quiet man might be Snake Eyes. In Springfield, we see Blood and the Baroness grooming Billy into an assassin. They have developed a plot that will have Billy approaching Cobra Commander at the Cobra rally, dressed as one of the Cobra youth. He will approach him to present the Commander with flowers, and then also a few bullets out of his .357 Magnum. The Cobras arrive at Snake Eyes' cabin. He must have seen them coming. He changed into his fighting gear. As soon as Destro sees Snake Eyes, he begins firing. Spirit and Airborne hear the shots and take off for the cabin. Snake Eyes pulls out his Uzi and fires out the window at the Cobra car. The three Cobras have to jump behind the car for cover. Destro fires one of his wrist rockets at the cabin. Spirit and Airborne are halfway to the cabin, only another 5 miles to go, guys. Snake Eyes continues to lay fire into the Cobra car, then hits the gas tank and the car explodes. The Cobras have to dive for cover. The Cobras get up and rush the cabin, keeping fire on all the windows, trying to keep Snake Eyes down, but he reloads and continues to fire back. Firefly tosses a grenade into the cabin. Snake Eyes is able to grab it and attempts to toss it out the window, but doesn't quite get it out. As he is exchanging fire with Destro, he is able to graze his metal head. The grenade explodes, throwing Snake Eyes against the far wall. Spirit and Airborne have arrived. Fred is tasked with keeping them under fire and away from the cabin. Destro enters the cabin, upset with Snake Eyes for coming into his castle and taking Scarlet, embarrassing him in front of the Cobra Commander. Destro sees Snake Eyes reaching for his Uzi and is ready to fire himself, telling Snake Eyes he is going to die like a dog. Destro hears something. It is Timber. He has come to save Snake Eyes. On the roof of the cabin, Firefly begins putting a satchel charge together. He plans to drop into the cabin. Spirit and Airborne see what Firefly is planning. Airborne attempts to flank him and get a shot at him before he can drop the satchel into the chimney. As soon as he gets into sight, Fred is waiting and fires at him. Airborne is hit, but still manages to fire up at Firefly and hits him as well. In the cabin, Timber has Destro pinned down, and Snake Eyes is still in rough shape. Outside, Spirit has Fred in his sights and fires at him, hitting him. Firefly on the roof drops the explosive into the cabin and then rolls off the roof injured. Destro sees the satchel charge, hits Timber to get him off of him, and dives out of the cabin. Spirit and Destro exchange fire as the timer ticks down on the explosive. The cabin blows up. Wow, what an issue. Poor Snake Eyes, just trying to enjoy some leave time in the mountains, gets his cabin destroyed, and may be dead alongside his wolf Timber. We will have to find out. My favorite panel from this issue is Destro entering the cabin, letting Snake Eyes know that he hasn't forgotten what he did, and he is here to end him. This was a really great action-packed issue. I'm going to give it 4.5 flag points. Can't wait to see what happens next, and to see if Snake Eyes is okay. That has been issue 31. Now you know, and knowing is half the battle. Subscribe so you don't miss out on the conclusion of this story in issue 32.
So long from Brian. Until next time, same Brian time, same Brian channel.